A literature review, Dementia and its Effect on Semantic Memory by Valeri L Reaves for Week 2 Research Methods. PSY625 Biological Basis of Behavior. The article selected for this literature review, entitled Preservation of Person-Specific Knowledge in Semantic Memory Disorder, a longitudinal investigation in 2 cases of dementia, was written by Catherine Haslam and Mazin Sabah. This article was published in the Journal of Neuropsychology in 2013. Haslam and Sabah, 2013, completed research pertaining to double dissociation in patients suffering from vascular disease in the areas of personal specific and general semantic knowledge. They concluded that while person-specific knowledge was preserved, general semantic knowledge showed a progressive decline. In the analysis of the research methodology, the research was conducted in the form of a cross-sectional patient evaluation. The research philosophy was positivism, based on facts presented in a quantitative format. The research type was fundamental, contributing to the overall scope of previous studies on the subject of semantic memory disorder. The research approach was deductive. Objectives were identified in the testing. The research design was conclusive. A final conclusion was drawn from the findings. Data collection methods were quantitative and represented by measurements, findings, and tables. The sample for the research was 2 individuals who both suffered from vascular disease. Some ethical considerations relevant to this research are cited in the American Psychological Association's Ethical Principles of Psychologists and Code of Conduct, Section 9.06, in which it cites that a psychological professional's responsibility is to consider, among other things, the participant's test-taking ability and to make modifications as needed. The researchers in this project addressed the test taker's ability by administering appropriate tests for each participant. Independent variables are those aspects of the research process that change. Dependent variables are those aspects of the research process that are measured. Dependent variables measurements vary depending on the changes made in the independent variables. Some independent variables in this research project are the participants, research period, observation time, and testing methods. Some dependent variables are person-specific knowledge, semantic knowledge, word-picture matching, synonym matching, object naming, and face recognition. The study design is a longitudinal correlation investigation of dissociation, which consists of repeated observations measured by various tests, the same variables, and extended periods of time. Neil R. Carlson provides that observational studies of behaviors of those suffering from damaged brains are called lesion studies. Carlson, 2017. The following 2 slides, slides 7 and 8, provide a visual of some of the testing results relevant to the researchers' conclusions that person-specific knowledge was preserved, relatively straight lines, while general semantic knowledge progressively declined. Strengths of the study are represented by elements that validate hypotheses or answers questions, while weaknesses highlight missing information or identify areas wherein more research is needed. Studies that have strengths that outweigh weaknesses are most valuable, but those that identify weaknesses encourage future collaborative research on the subject. The strengths in this research are evidence-based of person-specific knowledge, identification and application of multiple testing sources based on participants' test-taking ability, and the identification of the important roles of the right hemisphere on person knowledge. The weaknesses are lack of information on localizing regions involved in right temporal network, lack of identification of neural representation of person-specific knowledge, and lack of information on effects on knowledge of temporal asymmetry. Suggestions of improvement for this research would be to preface, possibly in the abstract, the fact that only a few of the many assessments completed on the participants were utilized for the final article.